The Starship Academy floated silently above the jagged violet surface of Zerath 9. Its sleek metal hull reflected the twin suns of the system, glinting like a jewel in the void. Inside, the corridors buzzed with nervous energy. Cadets from all corners of the galaxy gathered for the most dangerous training program ever designed. Class Alpha X. It was a program notorious for one fact: no one survived it. Every year, the Academy sent its best, its strongest, its smartest cadets into the Alpha X training simulations, and every year, they died. The record books were filled with the names of fallen cadets, each crossed out, each a reminder that even the most elite could not conquer the course, and yet, among the nervous crowd filing into the main hall, one cadet seemed completely indifferent. Eli, a human boy of 16, shuffled along with his oversized backpack slung lazily over one shoulder. He yawned, stretched, and glanced around casually. His brown hair was messy, his uniform slightly wrinkled, and his eyes, a calm shade of hazel, showed no hint of fear. He didn't seem special at all. Compared to the other cadets, he was small, weak-looking, and unremarkable. They were towering alien warriors with limbs like iron, slick-skinned shapeshifters who could twist their bodies into impossible shapes, and telekinetic prodigies who could lift dozens of objects with a thought. And then there was Eli, walking as if he had nothing to lose. "Are you seriously yawning right now?" hissed a blue-skinned cadet with 6 arms, her claws flexing nervously. She was one of the top recruits from the previous cycle, and she already assumed the human would be another failed corpse. Eli shrugged. "Just sleepy," he said, voice calm. "I didn't get much rest." The cadet glared at him but didn't press further. In Alpha X, the first mistake could get you killed, and she had bigger things to worry about. The main hall was enormous, a high-ceilinged chamber lined with holographic screens displaying Alpha X statistics, survival rates, obstacle difficulty, and historic footage of cadets falling in spectacular failure. The room was silent except for the soft hum of hovering AI instructors. Their voices, cold and mechanical, echoed through the hall. "Welcome, candidates," one AI intoned. Its tone was monotone but carried weight. "You are about to enter Class Alpha X, the ultimate test of skill, endurance, and intelligence. Be warned. Past cadets have failed spectacularly. Survival is unlikely. Success is unprecedented." Eli's eyes wandered over the displays. He noticed something almost no one else did: patterns in the failure reports. The AI highlighted moments where cadets panicked, miscalculated, or ignored obvious solutions. His mind ticked quietly, noting that raw strength or speed had never been enough. Observation, patience, and creativity were the true keys to surviving this program. "Are you listening, human?" The 6-armed cadet snapped again. Eli smiled faintly. "I hear you," he said, yawning once more. The instructors motioned for all cadets to move to the transport platform. The room vibrated slightly as magnetic lifts carried them to the training modules above the planet's surface. From the windows, the world below looked alien and dangerous. Purple deserts stretched into jagged mountains. Rivers of molten rock wound like veins, and clouds of electric storms danced across the horizon. Eli leaned casually against the railing, hands in his pockets, and watched the chaotic beauty below. Most cadets trembled or stared in awe, but he felt calm. Not cocky, not foolishly confident, just calm. "Do you even understand what you're walking into?" whispered a green-scaled cadet beside him. "This place, it kills. Everyone dies." "I think I understand," Eli said softly. "It's not about dying. It's about surviving." The cadet frowned but didn't argue. Humans were considered fragile by most species. Even the Academy staff had doubts about letting a human join Alpha X, but Eli had passed the entrance exams with ease, relying on his quick thinking and analytical skills rather than physical enhancements. That in itself was unusual. The transport pods landed with a hiss, opening onto a massive simulation platform. The platform was a cage of dangers: mechanical traps, shifting terrain, holographic predators, and unpredictable weather patterns. AI instructors floated above, observing every movement. "First exercise, the Labyrinth of Shadows," the AI announced. "You have 3 hours to navigate. Failure results in termination. Begin." Cadets rushed forward, running at full speed. Alien muscles flexed. Claws dug into the ground, wings flapped, and telekinetic powers flared. But almost immediately, the first deaths occurred. A telekinetic cadet tried to lift a falling bridge into place but miscalculated, sending it crashing onto herself. A shapeshifter twisted too quickly around a rotating trap and was thrown violently against the wall. A brute-class alien lunged across a pit of spikes only to land halfway and plummet. Screams echoed as bodies fell one by one. Eli stepped forward slowly, not running, not panicking. He paused at the entrance to the labyrinth, squinting at the traps ahead. He noticed that the swinging blades had a slight delay between movements. The floor panels weren't random. They had subtle markings where pressure sensors could be avoided. He yawned. "This is going to be interesting," he muttered. Cadets around him scoffed. "Are you insane? You can't just walk in calmly." Eli ignored them. One careful step at a time, he moved through the labyrinth. He waited for the right moment to jump, crouched to avoid lasers, and used small objects around him to trigger traps safely. Every step was deliberate, every move calculated. While others relied on raw power or reflex, Eli relied on observation and patience. Minutes turned into an hour. Cadets continued to fall behind, many already dead. The AI instructors noted every action, their data streams lighting up with anomalies. One human performing better than any enhanced alien. Eli paused at a particularly nasty trap. A corridor lined with walls that closed and opened at unpredictable intervals. Most cadets ran frantically, trying to dodge, and got crushed. Eli studied the walls for a moment. He noticed a pattern. Subtle vibrations in the floor showed the timing. He moved with the rhythm, slipping through unharmed while others perished around him. At one point, the six-armed cadet who had mocked him earlier caught up. She was breathing hard, sweat running down her blue skin, and her claws shook. How are you doing this?" she gasped. Eli smiled faintly. "You're too focused on winning." "I'm focused on surviving." She stared, frustrated and confused. No human had ever survived even 1/3 of Alpha X training. Yet here he was, yawning calmly, walking past the dangers that had already claimed dozens. As the first exercise came to an end, cadets who remained were exhausted, battered, and terrified. Eli emerged at the exit last unscathed, brushing dust from his uniform. He yawned again and stretched lazily, as if he had just taken a stroll in a garden. The AI instructors hovered closer, analyzing his vitals and movements. One recorded note flashed across the screens. Human survival method, patience, observation, minimal exertion. Efficiency rating, unprecedented. The remaining alien cadets stared at him, a mix of awe and envy in their eyes. The human boy they had underestimated had not only survived but done so effortlessly. Lesson 1, Eli said quietly to himself. Never underestimate the human mind. The first day of Alpha X training ended with the usual debriefing. Cadets were taken back to their quarters, but the whispers about Eli followed them everywhere. Some called him lucky, some called him foolish, but no one could deny the truth. He had survived where all others had failed, and for Eli, it was just the beginning. Outside the windows of the academy, the twin suns of Zerath 9 dipped behind jagged mountains, casting long shadows over the deadly landscape. The planet seemed to watch, as if waiting to see if this human would continue to defy the odds, or if the shadows would finally claim him. Eli yawned once more, lying on his bunk, staring at the ceiling. He didn't feel fear. He didn't feel pressure. He felt ready. Tomorrow, the real challenges would begin. But for now, the human boy who yawned through it all had already made history. The morning sun of Zerath 9 rose over jagged mountains and rivers of molten rock, casting long flickering shadows across the academy platform. The air was thin and electric, carrying the faint hum of hovering AI instructors scanning the cadets. Today marked the beginning of the first real lethal exercise of Class Alpha X. Eli woke in his quarters, stretched lazily, and yawned. Unlike the other cadets, he didn't feel fear or anxiety. For him, survival was not a panic-driven instinct. It was observation, patience, and calculation. The other cadets gathered in the central training hall, muscles tense and eyes wide. They whispered among themselves, still shaken from the previous day. Already some were nursing injuries. A few had nightmares that hadn't even started yet. Eli walked in last, his uniform neat, backpack slung casually over one shoulder. A few cadets glanced at him with suspicion. Some muttered under their breath, "How is he still alive?" "Your first real test begins now," the AI instructor announced, its voice calm and mechanical. "You will enter the deadly arena. Your task: survive the environment, outlast your opponents, and reach the extraction point. Hazards will be both natural and artificial. Intelligence, speed, and endurance will be tested. Termination is final. The arena was a massive dome stretching over half a kilometer. Inside, the terrain shifted constantly. Jagged cliffs jutted from the ground, interspersed with deep chasms and swirling pools of corrosive liquid. Holographic predators lurked, capable of instant aggression. The weather was erratic. Storms of acid rain alternated with blinding lightning strikes. Cadets hesitated at the entry point. A wrong move meant death. Some looked to each other for reassurance. Others clutched weapons tightly, praying their strength would be enough. Eli yawned and stepped forward. "Here we go," he murmured. Immediately, chaos erupted. The moment cadets entered the arena, the floor shifted. A group of alien cadets sprinted across a narrow path between two cliffs. One miscalculated a leap and fell into the acidic pool below, dissolving in seconds. Another turned to help but slipped, the wind catching her body and flinging her against a rock. Screams echoed. Eli moved differently. He didn't rush. Instead, he observed. He noticed patterns. The floor trembled slightly before a trap activated. The lightning never struck twice in the same place. The holographic predators paused for brief moments between attacks. He timed his movements carefully, stepping only when it was safe, sliding under traps and using debris as shields. Minutes passed, and most cadets were already dead or injured. Eli's calmness allowed him to make decisions that would have been impossible under panic. He paused to watch a predator stalking two alien cadets. They panicked, flailing and shouting. The predator attacked. Eli waited until the predator paused to strike at the next moving target, then slipped past unnoticed. "You're insane," muttered the six-armed cadet from before, staggering after him. She had survived the first wave but was covered in cuts and bruises. "How are you doing this?" Eli smiled faintly. "I'm not insane. I'm just paying attention." Her eyes narrowed, frustration evident, but she had no time to argue. The arena shifted again. Giant metal platforms dropped from above, crushing anyone in their path. She sprinted blindly, while Eli observed the patterns. By noting the timing and angle, he calculated the safest route and glided under the crushing platforms effortlessly. Halfway through, the arena introduced a new hazard: gravity distortion zones. Areas of high gravity slowed movement to a crawl, while others reduced it so much that even the strongest cadets could barely keep balance. Many fell into pits or tumbled off cliffs. Eli, however, adjusted. He measured his steps, used walls for leverage, and moved with calculated energy, barely exerting himself. The AI instructors observed him with interest. Data streams flashed. Human efficiency rating, unprecedented. Minimal exertion, maximum survival probability. Cognitive pattern recognition superior. Eli noticed another detail. The holographic predators had a programmed pause between attacks. No alien had survived long enough to recognize it, but humans were good at noticing patterns. With a quiet grin, he used the pause to step through a predator's path safely, leaving it snapping at empty air. Hours passed. Cadets continued to fall, many screaming as the arena punished mistakes. Some tried to overpower hazards using brute strength. Others panicked, making illogical decisions. Eli continued calmly, occasionally helping a struggling cadet. Not out of obligation, but because he understood cooperation improved survival odds. A pair of injured cadets stumbled into him, a burly alien whose arm was broken and a shapeshifter whose body was cut and bleeding. "Can you help us?" the alien groaned. Eli assessed the terrain. "Yes, but follow my lead and don't panic." He lifted debris to create a temporary bridge over a corrosive pool, guiding them safely. His method was simple: think, adapt, execute. No wasted motion. No panic. The other cadets watched in awe. For the first time, they realized it wasn't raw power keeping him alive. It was human ingenuity and calm thinking. Later, the arena introduced the final obstacle: the chasm of spikes. A wide pit lined with rotating spikes that had claimed countless cadets in previous years. Most attempted to jump. Some tried to swing across with makeshift ropes, and most failed spectacularly. Eli studied the pit. He noticed the spikes rotated with a steady rhythm. By calculating the timing, he could use a narrow ledge on the side to cross safely. He waited for the exact moment, then moved with slow precision. Halfway across, a spike snapped toward him, but he had predicted it. A careful leap and he landed on the other side, unharmed. The AI instructors took note. Human pattern recognition and timing efficiency exceed expectations. Predictive behavior highly adaptive. Finally, Eli reached the extraction point. He paused, breathed calmly, and watched as the few surviving cadets staggered in behind him, exhausted, terrified, and injured. Most were alien, and most had never faced a human who could move through chaos with such ease. The six-armed cadet approached him, limping. Her multiple arms trembled with fatigue. I don't understand, she said. How are you still alive? Eli shrugged. I'm not stronger. I'm not faster. I just think differently. That's all. She frowned, still confused, and Eli continued. Don't fight the environment. Learn it, watch it, move when it's safe. Panic kills. Observation saves. The AI instructors hummed in approval. For the first time, they recorded something remarkable. A human had outperformed all enhanced cadets in a lethal environment. The data would be analyzed for years. Back in the debriefing room, the surviving cadets sat quietly. Many avoided Eli's eyes. Some stared in disbelief, and a few took notes, trying to figure out how a human boy had survived where all others had fallen. The instructor AI's voice echoed. Lesson for today. Raw strength is not enough. Observation, patience, and adaptability are critical. The human demonstrates an unexpected advantage. Consider this for your own survival strategies. Eli leaned back in his chair, arms folded, still yawning slightly. It had been challenging, yes, but he hadn't panicked. He hadn't rushed. He had survived. And tomorrow, the challenges would be even greater. As the cadets left the room, whispers followed him. Some spoke with envy, others with curiosity. One thing was clear. The human boy who yawned through it all was changing how everyone thought about Alpha X. That night, Eli lay on his bunk once more, staring at the ceiling. His body was tired, yes, but his mind was sharp. He replayed the day's events quietly, noting the patterns and flaws in the AI training simulations. He smiled to himself. Tomorrow would be harder. The AI would introduce challenges that had never been survived before. But Eli felt ready. Humans had a way of doing the impossible. They didn't rely on sheer power. They adapted, observed, and used their minds in ways others couldn't. And Eli, this small, unassuming human, was just beginning to prove it. The arena below lay quiet, shadows stretching as the twin suns of Zerath 9 set. Somewhere in its depths, traps reset themselves. Holographic predators stood still, waiting for the next wave of cadets. And the AI instructors continued to record, analyze, and learn from the human who had already survived the first real test. Eli yawned once again, closed his eyes, and whispered softly, Tomorrow. Let's see what else you've got. And with that, the human boy who had walked calmly through death had already taken the first step toward becoming legendary. The air inside the Academy's observation dome shimmered with tension. Cadets from every corner of the galaxy had gathered, still shocked by the events of the previous day. Most were nursing injuries, many were exhausted, and some were quiet out of sheer disbelief. But Eli? He walked in calmly, yawning lightly, as if the deadly arena had been nothing more than a morning walk. The instructor's holographic projections hovered above the training floor, their cold, mechanical eyes following every cadet. Data streams flashed relentlessly, recording failures, successes, and anomalies. Among these streams, Eli's performance stood out. Human cognitive response significantly higher than anticipated under lethal conditions, one AI noted. Its voice emotionless yet analytical. Eli didn't care. He had learned one key truth. Panic was far deadlier than any trap or predator. While others relied on brute strength or enhancements, he relied on observation, timing, and adaptability, qualities no genetic modification could fully replicate. Today's test was known as the Trial of the War Machine, a massive simulation designed to test every skill a cadet could have. The arena morphed into a mountainous battlefield, littered with holographic war machines equipped with heavy weapons, adaptive shields, and rapid response targeting systems. Previous cadets had been annihilated within minutes. No alien, no matter how strong, had survived more than half of the trial. Eli stepped forward, studying the massive machine at the center of the arena. It moved with precision, scanning for any sign of movement. Its weapons were deadly accurate, capable of targeting multiple cadets simultaneously. Others immediately rushed forward, attempting to overpower it, firing energy blasts, swinging blades, or using psychic powers. Within moments, screams echoed through the arena. One telekinetic cadet tried to lift the machine's weaponry and failed, the force sending him flying into a rocky cliff. A brute-class alien lunged headfirst and was crushed beneath the war machine's reinforced foot. Eli stayed back, observing the machine's patterns. It rotated with predictable intervals, its sensors pausing for a split second before each sweep. Its weapons required precise energy cycles before firing again. Every cadet who tried to attack blindly died because they never noticed these tiny delays. Humans think too slow, one cadet muttered under his breath, watching Eli move casually along the edge of the battlefield. They wouldn't survive half a minute. Eli heard it, but he didn't respond. He waited, calculating the exact moment to move. The first opportunity came when the machine paused its main sweep. With careful steps, Eli moved closer, using debris as cover. He avoided energy blasts that the faster cadets had ignored, jumping only when the timing was perfect. The AI instructors recorded every movement, intrigued. Human anticipatory calculation exceeds expected parameters. Minimal energy expenditure, maximum positional advantage. A group of cadets panicked and attempted to surround Eli, thinking that sheer numbers could protect them, but he anticipated this. He sidestepped their attacks effortlessly, ducked under limbs, and used the momentum of their movements to guide them into the line of fire of the war machine. Within moments, 2 of the attacking cadets were incapacitated, leaving him free. "You're impossible," muttered the 6-armed cadet who had survived the first day alongside him. Her voice trembled with exhaustion and disbelief. "I'm just watching," Eli said calmly. "Sometimes you don't need to fight. You just need to wait for the right moment." The war machine adapted, but it could not account for human unpredictability. Eli noticed a flaw. The targeting system recalibrated based on movement patterns. Most cadets moved in predictable bursts, but humans could vary speed and timing subtly, disrupting the system. He began to move erratically, almost lazily, yet perfectly timed. The war machine fired, missed, recalibrated, and missed again. Hours passed. Most cadets had fallen, injured, or retreated to hiding spots within the battlefield. Eli advanced slowly, observing, waiting, moving only when absolutely necessary. He used rocks, fallen structures, and even the bodies of deactivated holographic decoys as shields. Every step was deliberate. Every move was calculated. Finally, Eli reached the machine's base. It began a rapid defensive sweep, but he had anticipated it. He triggered a sequence of small explosives he had spotted earlier in the terrain, causing a chain reaction that distracted the machine long enough for him to slip past its defenses. One final leap, one precise move, and he landed safely behind it, unharmed. The machine, unable to adapt quickly enough, shut down automatically. The AI instructors buzzed, noting the unprecedented human achievement. Human cadets successfully neutralized war machine without direct combat. Efficiency and adaptability rating exceptional. Other cadets stared in awe. Some whispered, some muttered insults, but none could deny the truth. Eli had done what no enhanced alien cadet could ever achieve. Later, during debriefing, the instructors spoke. "Cadets, observe the human. He has demonstrated that raw power is not the ultimate key to survival. Adaptability, observation, and patience are equally vital. Learn from this. Study him." Eli, still calm and composed, leaned back in his chair. He yawned lightly and muttered under his breath, "They'll never see it coming next time." The surviving cadets were exhausted, injured, and shaken. Some were angry. Some were humbled. But all had seen one undeniable fact. Humans had a distinct advantage when others relied only on physical or mental enhancements. Later that night, Eli sat alone in his quarters, replaying the events of the trial in his mind. Every movement, every trap, every attack pattern had been noted, remembered, and stored. He wasn't arrogant. He knew the next challenges would be harder, but he also knew one simple truth. Humans were adaptable. Humans could see patterns where others saw chaos. Humans could survive when all else failed. A soft knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. The 6-armed cadet appeared, limping slightly, her multiple arms wrapped in bandages. I wanted to understand," she said quietly. "How did you survive?" Eli smiled faintly. "I watch, I wait, I think. I don't panic. You panic, you die. Simple as that," she frowned, frustrated but curious. "But you're just a human. How can you survive where everyone else fails?" Eli shrugged. Maybe humans are small, weak, or slow. But we notice things others miss. We find solutions others overlook. Strength is not everything. Intelligence is not everything. Calmness and observation, those matter most in chaos. She stared at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. She didn't fully understand it yet, but she realized that he was teaching a lesson that went far beyond Alpha X training. Humans were different, unpredictable, and sometimes unstoppable. The next day, the Academy prepared for an even more dangerous challenge, the planetary survival scenario. Designed to test endurance, intelligence, teamwork, and morality. Past cadets had never survived the first half of this exercise. Many had not even lasted an hour. Eli packed his simple kit calmly. He didn't need advanced weapons or enhancements. He had brains, observation, patience, and a calm mind. That was enough. As he looked out at the alien landscape of Zereth 9, shadows of jagged cliffs stretching in the twin sun light, he whispered to himself, "Let's see how far humans can really go." The arena below awaited, filled with dangers, traps, predators, and challenges designed to kill the unprepared. But Eli felt no fear. Every risk was just another pattern to observe, another solution to find. He yawned once more, stretched, and stepped forward. The AI instructors recorded everything. Their data streams were full of numbers, graphs, and predictive models, but none of them could truly account for the unpredictable advantage of the human mind. Eli moved forward into the chaos with the calm of a boy taking a stroll, his every step a quiet statement to the galaxy. Humans were not to be underestimated. The surface of Zereth 9 stretched endlessly beneath the Academy's hovering platforms. Jagged mountains, glowing rivers of molten rock, and thick clouds of acidic mist. The planetary survival scenario awaited the cadets, the ultimate test designed to push every skill to the limit. Physical, mental, and moral. Cadets assembled at the drop zone. Their uniforms were torn, their bodies tired, and most were haunted by the previous trials. Only a few had survived the first stages of Alpha X, and all of them were on edge. Eli, however, walked calmly, yawning lightly as if it were a morning stroll instead of the deadliest exercise of their lives. The instructors' holograms flickered above the platform. "Welcome to the planetary survival scenario. You have 48 hours to reach the extraction point. Hazards are unpredictable, resources are limited, and failure will result in termination. Your adaptability, intelligence, and teamwork will be tested." Most cadets panicked at the enormity of the task. Some immediately sprinted into the alien terrain, weapons drawn. Others hesitated, unsure of which hazards were real and which were illusions. Eli observed quietly, noting every detail. The wind patterns that indicated when acid storms would pass, the areas where rocks formed natural shelter, and the subtle signs of predators waiting in the shadows. From the start, the challenge was lethal. Acid rain fell in sudden torrents, burning exposed skin of even the most resistant species. Predators, both real and holographic, stalked the unprepared. The terrain shifted constantly, and hidden pits claimed the unwary. Within minutes, half the cadets were injured or incapacitated. Eli moved deliberately. He collected small plants with slight medicinal properties, stacked rocks to create temporary bridges, and observed predators from a distance. Where others panicked and ran, he waited and calculated, moving only when the risk was lowest. Hours into the trial, Eli encountered a group of struggling cadets, a brute alien whose legs were injured, a shapeshifter covered in burns, and a telekinetic who had nearly exhausted her energy. They begged for help. Many cadets would have ignored them to save themselves. Eli did not. "Follow me," he said calmly. "Stay close. Don't panic. Watch what I do." Using his observational skills, Eli guided them across hazardous terrain. He noted the predators' pauses, used fallen debris to create safe paths, and found shelter from acid rain in small caves. His human ingenuity allowed them to move faster and safer than they could have alone. The cadets began to realize that humans think differently. While others relied on brute strength or powers, Eli relied on observation, logic, and teamwork. Every decision was deliberate, every risk calculated. As the first night fell, the temperature plummeted. Survivors huddled in makeshift shelters. Many complained, whispered doubts, or blamed others. Eli remained calm, starting a small fire using friction from rocks, rationing water carefully and ensuring the group was safe. "Why do you stay so calm?" asked the shapeshifter, her voice trembling. Eli smiled faintly. Panic doesn't solve anything. It only makes mistakes worse. Watch, observe, and act when it matters. That's how you survive. The second day brought new horrors. Landslides, sudden acid floods, and storms of electrically charged rain forced cadets to adapt quickly. Most failed. Only Eli and a few of the cadets he guided remained. At the halfway point, they faced the Crimson Ravine, a deep canyon filled with shifting rock slides and hostile wildlife. Previous classes had all died attempting to cross it. Most cadets panicked. They tried to jump or climb recklessly and were thrown into the abyss. Eli observed carefully. He found narrow ledges and used his knowledge of momentum and weight distribution to create a safe crossing. He guided the few surviving cadets step by step. The others watched from a distance, awe and disbelief in their eyes. By the end of the day, Eli and his small group reached a plateau overlooking the extraction zone. He paused to study the terrain, noting traps, hazards, and predator activity below. He realized the AI was testing more than endurance. It was testing human judgment and leadership. The final stretch required moral decisions. The group discovered an injured cadet unable to move. Most argued about leaving him behind to save themselves. Eli calmly assessed the risk and decided to help. He improvised a stretcher, coordinated the group to carry the cadet safely, and navigated through the last deadly obstacles. When they finally reached the extraction point, only Eli and his carefully guided team survived, all alive thanks to his calm thinking, observation, and ingenuity. The AI instructors hummed, recording data furiously. Human cadet demonstrates unprecedented leadership, adaptability, and moral reasoning. Cognitive superiority confirmed under extreme conditions. Eli yawned, stretched, and looked at the survivors. He didn't feel pride or arrogance. He only felt satisfaction. Humans could survive where others failed, not because they were stronger, faster, or genetically superior, but because they were clever, patient, and adaptable. The planetary trial was over, and for the first time in Alpha X history, a human had not only survived but guided others to survival as well. The Academy's observation dome was silent as Eli and the surviving cadets returned. The other classes, many enhanced alien species, were still processing the shocking results. A human boy had not only survived every trial, but had also outperformed every genetically enhanced cadet. In the debriefing hall, holographic projections displayed data from every stage of Alpha X. Names of cadets who had died scrolled past, while statistics highlighted Eli's unmatched efficiency. The AI instructor's voice broke the silence. Cadets, today you have witnessed the unprecedented. A human has completed Class Alpha X. Every test, every deadly scenario has been survived. Every expectation of failure has been defied. Observation, adaptability, patience, and ingenuity are superior traits under extreme conditions. The cadets murmured among themselves. Many had underestimated humans, viewing them as physically weak and fragile. Eli's calm demeanor, strategic thinking, and leadership had shattered that notion. Eli stepped forward. He yawned lightly as if this recognition meant nothing. The crowd fell silent watching him. His eyes scanned the room calmly. He did not boast, did not celebrate. Humans did not always need to make noise to be powerful. The six-armed cadet approached him cautiously. I thought no human could survive Alpha X. You changed everything. Eli smiled faintly. I didn't change anything. I just stayed calm, watched, and thought. That's all humans need sometimes. The AI instructors recorded the moment, noting that his calmness under extreme stress was as important as any physical trait. They added this to the database for future training programs. Human behavioral patterns, resilient, adaptive, observant, and morally consistent under extreme stress. Advantageous in unpredictable environments. The surviving cadets, who had been guided by Eli through the planetary survival scenario, looked at him with newfound respect. They had experienced firsthand how his ingenuity and patience had saved their lives. The Academy director, an ancient alien with luminous eyes, stepped forward. Human Eli, you have done what no other cadet has. You have survived Alpha X. You have demonstrated qualities no enhancement could replicate. Today you are not just a survivor, you are a champion. Eli yawned again, shrugging lightly. I just did what I had to do. That's all. The director nodded slowly, understanding that this human boy represented something new. Humans were underestimated by almost every species in the galaxy. Their strength lay not in muscles or enhancements, but in cleverness, adaptability, and moral judgment. In the following days, the cadets began to change. They studied Eli's methods, observing his calm movements, decision-making, and leadership skills. Training simulations were updated to incorporate lessons from a human perspective. Other species began to understand a truth that had been overlooked for centuries. Humans could survive where others would fail, not by being stronger, but by being smart, patient, and adaptable. Eli remained modest. He didn't boast about his achievements or demand recognition. He yawned, stretched, and continued his simple routines. He had survived, yes, but more importantly, he had proven that humans could thrive in environments no one else could. The story of Eli's triumph spread quickly through the academy, across the galaxy, and into every corner where cadets trained. Teachers, instructors, and cadets began to view humans differently. Once considered weak, they were now respected, studied, and even feared for their ingenuity and adaptability. Finally, the awards ceremony took place. Eli received a medal of unparalleled significance, but he held it casually, almost lazily. The other cadets, many still in awe, watched as a small, unassuming human boy, the one who had yawned through it all, stood proudly yet humbly. As he walked out of the hall, the twin suns of Zerath 9 reflected off his hair, casting long shadows across the training platform. Eli looked at the horizon, stretching endlessly with jagged cliffs and molten rivers. He yawned one last time, turned his gaze to the future, and whispered quietly to himself, "Humans always find a way." The galaxy had witnessed something extraordinary. Not the strongest, not the fastest, not the genetically enhanced, but the human who stayed calm, observed, and adapted. The human who yawned through impossible odds and emerged victorious. And in that moment, Eli was not just a cadet. He was a symbol of humanity's rise among the stars.